Good day, everybody, and a very warm welcome to QuickBooks Labs podcast. It's your UK's #1 QuickBooks podcast, but that's because it's the only podcast that we have dedicated to the world of QuickBooks, where we're talking about monthly tips as we explore tips, tricks, and all sorts of stuff your way. I'm Aaron Patrick, your host for today. I am the QuickBooks chap on YouTube and the newly crowned digital disruptor, and also the hero behind the Hero Awards by QuickBooks themselves. And with me is a panel of experts, so let them introduce themselves. Simon, you're first on my list, so go first.
Hi everyone, we're back again for another month. I'm Simon from Morgan Smith, and I run our software advisory department. So yeah, anything QuickBooks and anything else that adds to it, and anything else that accounting software really is my bag.
Love it. Charlie, you're up. And welcome back, Charlie.
Thank you. I'm Charlie Khan. I am an accountant running my own practice in West London. I run a user group for QuickBooks Pro Advisors on Facebook. So if you're not a member, please come and join us. It's called QBOA User Group, and would love to see you there.
I love it. And hashtag Audit Amy, as she's called herself. Amy, introduce yourself.
I have to give that to Rachel Harris. She has called me hashtag Audit Amy. I'm Amy Hancock. I am an accountant and auditor of Hancock and Hastings, based in Bedfordshire. I still don't have any awards, so feel free to give me some. I know Charlie looks like he doesn't have any. Make one for me.
I mean, all three of you do have Top Trumps cards, so is that not an award in itself? Is that
not an award? No award yet.
It's just these two down here that don't have awards.
Hang on. What's
this, Charlie?
I remember them in the US.
Yeah, I went to QuickBooks US Get Connected, whatever it's called, and they did that for all the VIP pro advisors over there. It's out of focus, but that's about the only thing I've got.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. And Top Trumps as well. You can't forget your Top Trumps cards. People are wanting them signed. I've heard on the black market a signed Charlie Khan card is worth over £250. So there you go. Get yourself.
But an unsigned one's worth 300.
I didn't want to say that bit, so Charlie. I didn't want to say that. All right, buddy, we have a cracker installed for you. So first of all, let's figure out how this all works. First of all, we're live to the world. So if you do have any questions or comments or anything, stick them in there and we will pop them up and keep us honest as we go forward. But if you're not listening to us live, then you'll probably listen to us on one of our many podcasting services around the world, and we aim to go live for the first day of each and every month. When we go live, who knows? I'll be completely honest with you. Who knows? Just keep an eye on socials and we'll try and be as consistent as possible. Right, we've got three very important topics. One of them a meaty one indeed, and that is the fact that QuickBooks Sole Trader finally gives us accountant access. So I'm going to go through the rigmarole. I'm going to set it all up, and then we're going to talk about it. So give me 2 seconds to get ready to tell you all about the world of QuickBooks Sole Trader accountant access. Hello, everybody. So I don't know why I'm zoomed in so much, but this will do. We are about to talk about the fact that QuickBooks Sole Trader has finally given us accountant access. Now, if you think about it, QuickBooks Sole Trader is the replacement for QuickBooks Self-Employed. And one of the biggest criticism about QuickBooks Self-Employed was the lack of tools we had as accountants to help our clients go forward. So now that QuickBooks Sole Trader has QuickBooks accountant access, are we happy or not? We're going to find out in the next few seconds. Now the button doesn't work. you know, I don't know if this is actually worth it. It helps Lizzie, producer Lizzie, get some amazing what do you call it, shorts out of the thing, and that's why we do that whole palaver. But I don't know.
Should we get producer Lizzie to just come and press the buttons for you?
I think that's how we've got to do it going forward. Yeah. I mean, we'll have to give her obviously a pay rise for it, but I think it's worth every penny. All right then, people. So hands up first of all, who's played with the QuickBooks Sole Trader product so far? That's 2.
A little bit.
Yeah. So I think we've spoke about it enough in terms of what it offers to the client. We're happy with it. It gives us, you know, from a point of view of simplicity, it's exactly what we need. There's still some bits that need working out, and there's definitely some flaws we'll talk about during this. But overall, as a product that is nice and simple to use, they've pretty much nailed that opportunity. Now, when it comes to the accountant access, there's some strange elements to it and some really good elements to it as well. So without further ado, let me bring it up on screen and let's look at it and let's have a chat about it going forward. So the idea here is on the left-hand side, I know it's quite zoomed out, but on the left-hand side, that is your client's access. And on the right-hand side is the accountant's access. And there's a big reason we're going to be showing it this way is because out of every other piece of software that QuickBooks ever done, please, everyone out there listening now, make sure that you look at it from the client access as well, because this isn't your typical accountant access. We have new tools, we have new opportunities, we have new elements, and there are some really strange bits and strange UI decisions made within the software that I really do urge everyone to have a play around with it before they go forward. Right, let me quickly tell you some really big changes they are. The first one is if we jump in the bank transactions area, you will notice on the right hand side of our accountant screen this new ticky button that appears just here. Now, the idea of the ticky button is to give you, the accountant, the opportunity to go through and tick to say that you're happy that that transaction is correct. So think of it as a review button, gives you the option to do that. We also have the chance using the batch action option on here to go through and batch action the reviewed buttons if we need to. And we'll go through from there. Now, the reason this is so critical is because the way that QuickBooks Sole Trader has been set up, it's designed to go through and automatically assign transactions on behalf of the client. So the idea is using AI, machine learning, whatever you want to call it, and it's going to go through and every transaction is going to be there. It's going to automatically put that there. So as an accountant, we want to have confidence that it's right. And there's no for review and reviewed and all those tabs or anything. This is one long list. And this ticky button here is to give us that confidence that we're happy with it. The way the tick button works is we put a tick on that. If the client makes change, it will automatically untick on the right-hand side for us. So we know then that we might need to go and check it again. In principle, how does everyone feel about the opportunity to have a ticky button? Go on, Charlie, we've not heard from you at all about QuickBooks Sole Trader. Do you want to go first on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very, very new to it. So I haven't had a chance to play around with it much yet, and I haven't had a chance for a client to look at it at all yet. So I'm slightly wary. I guess the biggest issue for me is checking that we know what's been processed, because with normal QuickBooks, when you process a transaction, it comes off this screen and it's booked, it's posted. With this product, unless something's changed since I last looked at it, it remains on this screen, and it's not clear what's been booked, what's been changed, and all the rest of it. And for me, that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, and it's because the client will never, I mean, the clients I've put in front, they're actually now not doing any bookkeeping whatsoever, because they're like, well, QuickBooks said it was this, so it must be right. That's the mentality they've got. So this tick button for us is to go through and make those changes as we need to. Amy, what's your opinion on it? I
initially thought exactly the same as Charlie. I was like, oh, we don't have a this has been done section. But because you can filter between reviewed and unreviewed, it's kind of there. So if I reviewed, I just have it as a, they call it an unreviewed?
Yeah. I couldn't find that filter, but unless I'm being mistaken, because I thought we should have a reviewed and unreviewed, right? But I couldn't find it.
Oh, I thought we should. Oh, well, if that's the case, if it's not there, then yeah, I'm in Charlie's camp. I'm up for it. I'm gonna have a little play.
Yeah,
Well,
you do that.
Welcome to my camp.
Simon, for you, this is whole new looking at it and everything else. But do you think this is from a workflow point of view, if your team was using this product, probably not in your case, but if they were, would you be happy with them kind of this ticking, not ticking process?
I think, yeah, if you're doing tax and ticking it and saying, yeah, that's right. But are the people going to do that? Probably, if people are doing their own bookkeeping, probably not. Like, that's their responsibility to code things properly.
So the client can't see this, just so you know.
The client can't see the left-hand side.
No, they don't have any ticky option whatsoever. It's just the accountant gets to see it.
I think in most cases, people aren't going to, they're just going to go, yeah, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, is £3.99 going to make much difference if it's coded to one place and not the other? Probably not.
That's true.
Which is going to be the majority of people on using this product, right? Unless it's materially like way out, but it's going to be pretty accurate, isn't it? It's going to appear on a box with one box somewhere on a tax return.
True. But my concern at the moment is it does a lot of personal, like I've not even gone through. I've ticked it just to say it's ticked, but actually most of these don't seem. And again, this is like not proper data anyway. This isn't a proper business, but still, you know, you wouldn't have expected it to have done that. And a lot of that is because it's going to learn, right? And it needs to learn. It needs to go forward. The one big criticism I've got at the moment is if I wanted to tick it and I wanted to be really precise, then in my opinion, you would want to go probably by category, right? So you go, well, what's it done advertising work? And then probably do it all at once. There's no indication on this here to let me know which ones have transactions or which not. So, you know, as a use case, I don't know. I can't figure out the workflow to do it other than literally you tell your team, just go line by line and tick it, which surely
Those
186 transactions.
They're not the same categories that are on your.
We will come to that very shortly, but yes, you're right. Yeah.
I'll jump the gun.
So I mean, yeah, it's a solution for something that probably is definitely needed. If we didn't have the tick one, how would we even come close to figuring this out, right?
Yeah.
Like, who knows what transactions have been looked at, what haven't. But I think it was just kind of thrown in there as a solution without properly thinking about a workflow.
Is there a log behind that tick box?
That's a very good question. Does it come in the audit trail?
You can get an audit trail.
Oh, not anymore. That's gone. No, we don't get the audit trail anymore. That's gone. Bye.
Kind of required.
If I jump to, so I've unticked this and then I've reticked this. If I go back into the transaction, does it tell me at all? No, there's no audit trail to it whatsoever.
Yeah, well, there's a problem.
Yeah. So what's everyone's thoughts on it? Is this, are you going to be using this in your workflow? Charlie, if you've got a client to look at now, is this how you're going to do it? Are you going to go through ticking and unticking these things?
No, I mean, I need to take more time trying to work out how to deal with it. For me, at the moment, the workflow doesn't work. For those kind of small sole trader clients, I mean, any sole trader who is VAT registered, I'm using proper QuickBooks.
Well, you can't. This isn't VAT registered anyway, is it? So yeah, I agree.
So and any company, I'm using full QuickBooks. So this is only going to be for a sole trader who is turning over less than 90 grand, but probably turning over significantly less than that. And typically, at the moment, they send me a spreadsheet once a year, and I look at it once a year. The idea that I've got to be monitoring this throughout the year, and then maybe I go in and do something, and maybe the client's gone and changed something, but I don't know they've changed something. I can't see what's been reviewed, what hasn't been reviewed. To me, it's a little bit messy, and I'm not quite sure yet what the workflow should be to know that it's correct. And can I lock it down when I've completed it or when I've reviewed items? That to me is a problem. I want to know that something has been done, and when I next look at it, it hasn't been changed.
Yeah, agreed. There is a lockdown process, but it's exactly the same as your lockdown you have in QuickBooks, where you can close the books. So there is that opportunity there. It's a little bit buggy at the moment. It kind of thinks that we're in American dates and not UK dates, but I'm sure that'll get fixed at some point. But yeah, I'm not 100% certain yet. They have said that this is all about machine learning, right? So every time that you put Just Eat to personal, for example, it should start learning that and going forward. They have said that us putting a tick against it will give more weight towards that machine learning. I think that's positive, right? If we as the accountant have said that should be X, Y, Z, whatever it's going to be. So this travel costs here shouldn't be personal. It should be, business or whatever. And then we tick it, then it should learn quicker from what we're telling it, as opposed to just what the client accepted that it is. So that's a positive, right? And hopefully that will mean that that's quicker.
Realistically, what I would want to be doing is looking at this once here. The client says they've uploaded everything. I've told the client to do whatever they do. And then I look at it, because typically with the spreadsheets, they get it reasonably right at putting stuff in the right columns in a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
I know a few things about, but typically what I do and what I would want to do with this is what you started to describe earlier. And I would say, okay, let me filter by travel expenses. Let me filter by subsistence. Let me filter by advertising, whatever it is. And run my eye down. Is everything advertising? Does it look like advertising? Is there anything personal? Yep, that looks fine. Okay, let's move to the next category. And I just run through each of those categories and okay, that's all fine. Does the bank reconcile? Assuming we're doing a reconciliation, maybe we're not doing a reconciliation, this I don't know. And then run off a tax return. But the idea that I'm going to be looking at every single individual transaction by transaction in isolation is a waste of time. I can run my eye down all of the advertisings together, and if they've got 57 payments to Facebook advertising, I can scan those 57 payments to Facebook advertising in about 3 or 4 seconds. But if I was doing each one on its own in a list, intermingle with a whole load of other things, each of those Facebook things will probably take a second or two each.
Yeah.
So it's going to take 50 times longer. No, I want to be able to just run my eye down. Yep, that all looks like advertising. That all looks like subsistence. That all looks like, rent, whatever it is.
And maybe that's where grouping could help, right? Like this is one of I know Amy is very upset that her grouping's not in there anymore. But maybe if we had grouping, we could do it by category. Category or something, right?
Yeah, that's the bit for me. I think I probably see this as in preparation for MTD itself, obviously, and going in and just having a client, hopefully having their business bank account linked and just having business transactions, and me having one of my team go through, group it, categorize it to the right place. Then I'm going in and I'm checking the profit and loss account, income tax record, whatever it's called on here. And then I'm scanning through that as if I would in Charlie's Excel spreadsheet. So that's the way I'm seeing this. If grouping comes in, please, QuickBooks.
Yeah, bring back grouping. We'll fight for it. Don't worry. So Charlie's already alluded to it. So the other big change as the accountant is the reconciliation screen. Now, I'm going to hold my hands up and say I was probably one of the problems here, because when QuickBooks Sole Trader was first announced, I remember having major concerns about this reconciliation area. Because if you think about QuickBooks Sole Trader as self-employed, to say, the whole point of QuickBooks Self-Employed is just a place for clients to record transactions. So you could add a bank account, but then you can add as many transactions as you want. Now, in the way that they've built this is it's still only one area for each transaction. So you just have a transaction screen, no matter how many bank accounts you've attached or anything like that. But the idea, though, is if you want to create a new transaction, it will only ever go to the cash account. It will never hit any of the bank accounts that are there. In fact, it's impossible for your client to create any transaction against the bank account itself. The only way that a bank account transaction can appear in this software is if it's been either uploaded as a CSV file or is connected by a live bank account. That's the only way we can get bank transactions in. So from a reconciliation point of view, in theory, because we can't add any rogue transactions, if you like, reconciliation should always be correct. And I think they've taken that too literally, because that was my concern. It's like, well, if we're going to have a mismatch of all these elements in the bank account, it's going to be a nightmare for us at the end of a year to reconcile. Because like Charlie said, some of these clients we're only going to see once a year. So if we're going to reconcile for them on a yearly basis, we need it to be a 20-second job that we go, right, confident now, it's reconciled. I can, I know that it's okay. And we've set the scene going forward if there's any changes or anything like that. If the reconciliation process was a 4-hour job because we had to go through looking at individual transactions and moving things around, clearly that wouldn't work for us. So they've taken this approach of we can only add transactions from the bank account from the CSV files. Like they're very, very particular. We're going to see some other examples of how particular they are in a moment, but it gives us an opportunity to reconcile. How are we feeling? We're happy that reconciliation's there. That's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's good that it exists.
And was anyone expecting a different approach, or do you think keeping it the way that it should be, like the way we're used to, is that the right approach, do you think?
It keeps it consistent.
Yeah. Remind me, we can link multiple banks? Because again, I've got clients who I try to persuade them to open a business bank account, so they do, and then they set their personal stuff in their business and they put both of them business in both business and personal, and it's
they can add multiple banks if they want to, and then you can reconcile them at the year end. So those options there. We've got our famous
everything that goes to personal doesn't disappear. If they mark something as personal, it doesn't disappear. It just stays out of the tax return. It stays out of the P&L.
Yeah, it goes to the drawing.
It's in there as an item in the fine. Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. Well, that's
so it's there. Again, I'm a little bit, and I'll explain why. I'm happy that reconciliation is nice and easy, but it is going to cause us problems, I think. And let's go straight into that, right? So the biggest issue is things like this receipt capture area here. We love a good receipt capture. For the clients that this is looking at, they think it's magic, right? The idea that they can have a paper receipt floating around and all they have to do is take a photo of it and it just appears magically within there. Like we're talking, forget the quality that we've got with like Apron and Dex and all that sort of stuff. This is to wow a client that you're trying to get into QuickBooks to bring them on. Just the idea that within QuickBooks they take a photo and it magically appears in is a great selling point, right? So it makes sense that QuickBooks Sole Trader has a receipt capture tool. The way the receipt capture tool works here, though, back to that issue that they don't really scared about any rogue transactions happening in the bank. You can't actually create a transaction from the receipt capture. You can only link a transaction from the receipt capture. So the idea would be clients like here, they've created all these transactions for us. But if it doesn't appear in the bank, like this one here, because maybe they paid on their personal account, maybe they paid by cash, maybe, whatever the reason is that they've not added it on, you now can't create a transaction based on that. So the only way to create a transaction is to take a screenshot or maybe get a pen and paper and write it down, then go back to the bank transaction page, press new, go create the transaction from here to then go back into the receipts area and link it from there. So at the end of the year, when your clients added all the transactions here for you to deal with, are you happy or not happy about that? How are you going to deal with them?
No, I don't have time to do with that. I mean, unless you're going to bill these small clients, £1,000 or more, you've got time to deal with this nonsense. The client needs to be able to do it themselves. The whole point of this simple product is the client needs to be able to do it themselves. And quite frankly, I'm not interested in receipts. If they're not VAT registered, I don't care about seeing the receipts. So
yeah, but I guess it's for transactions when it's not on the bank account, right? That's what this is for more than anything. Like that's that catch-all.
I guess if they're out and about, they've just bought something for whatever it is. They bought something for
credit card. They've paid for it. You know what I mean?
And then we'll just I can't remember how to. I'll just snap it in the app. Boom! It's now in the app, and at some point I'll get round to coding it.
For them, they've done it right.
They need to be able to code it. Yeah. They need to be able to code it from this screen, and to not do that seems completely stupid.
And again, I think I'm the problem because I was the one scared about just adding this to bank accounts and making our reconciliation harder. But we could just add directly to the cash account from here, right? It doesn't have to.
Restrict it. So you can't do it to a bank account that's already linked to avoid the duplication.
Yeah.
And then our job at the account at the end of the year is just to go through that cash account, make sure it looks realistic. Make sure there's no duplications. Make sure that stuff hasn't been added there that should have gone through the bank. Kirsty says, "Hi all, are multiple bank accounts all on the one screen?" Yes. So there's no way of splitting the bank account at all. Although we do get a filter option at the top here. So I wanted to see, in my case, only my Revolut. I can. If I want to see only my cash transactions, I can. So we do get a nice little filter. But yeah, unlike the QuickBooks normal version where you get the banks at the top, we don't have the option there. So yeah, thoughts on the receipt capture? It's there. It just, I think sometimes with things like this, we as the accountants are not consulted, right? And I think that's the problem. Like, if we would have consulted from day one, we would have said, no, that's not how you should approach that. Like, we need the option to be able to create it from here and put that in. They've got a clever extra system here where you don't even need the mobile app. You can add from this QR code. You scan the QR code, and that will then magically appear like without having the app. So there's some really cool elements to it. I just feel like it's not 100% been thought through.
I agree. I was going to have this product as you don't need to keep physical receipts anymore. They are all going to be stored in here. But if you can't create a transaction from it, it's not massively going to work. I'm just going to have a mass of unlinked. If they are good and they only use the one bank account to pay for everything in relation to their business, and it will link, or does it link automatically?
No, you have to go in and actually
and link it. Okay, fine. And then everything says linked, great. But in reality, that's not going to happen. You're always going to have something that doesn't link, or you will have the petrol receipt, but not the actual full receipt because they've added food and things like that. And yeah, I have that quite a lot. So it needs to be able to create a transaction.
Yeah, agreed. And we need batch options here, right? Like, there's no batch options. There's nothing here for us to. You imagine at your year end that you've just got a list of 600 transactions in here to deal with. It's like,
no.
Yeah.
Charlie would just delete them all. Don't need the receipt.
Yeah, I mean,
to me, it's Excel spreadsheet.
What they need to understand is, for clients like this, the fees are small. We are not doing the bookkeeping for clients like this, or certainly I'm not. I just want to review what the client has done and possibly move some major items. Okay, $3.99, as Simon said, doesn't matter if it's in category A or category B, but they haven't put a fixed asset into a £500 or £1,000 new computer into repairs or something. So we're claiming capital allowances, not P&L deductions. That kind of stuff. I'm having a quick look to check there's not a load of personal stuff in there and things like that, and that they haven't missed a load of payments that they should have. That should not take me very long. What I am not going to be doing is doing their bookkeeping for them.
Yeah.
Because if we're doing their bookkeeping for them, then the fee is much higher. And if the fee is much higher, we can afford proper QuickBooks and do it in a proper tool that does it properly.
Yeah, 100%.
There's no point having a cheap, simple tool and expecting the accountant to do the bookkeeping. That's just stupid.
Yeah. James says that would waste too much time. Exactly right there, James. Exactly right.
Exactly.
Okay, now this to me is the most. Is it controversial? Maybe I'm definitely not controversial, but this is the one that was the most confusing for me. So here in front of me is the chart of accounts. So the first time ever in a product like this, we now have access to a chart of accounts, and we can add as we want to go forward. So for example, I added the mysterious that never is there subscription to here, so that then we can have a subscription category to go forward. Now, when I first added the chart of accounts, forgive me for getting this completely wrong, I went over to the client area, and I was like, add into the category, and subscription wasn't there originally. Because, and I think I get the logic of this, but I think a lot of people need to learn and understand how this works, because the idea is that this chart of account here is what we're going to see when we run our TBs, profit and losses account, balance sheets, and all that sort of stuff. From a client's point of view, they get to see what's called the manage mapping area. So if the eagle-eyed view, you'll see at the very top, press one button, there is manage mapping at the very top of the screen. And from there, this is how we interact with what our client can see and what they are. And then you have to basically map what the client is on the left-hand side with what our ledger account is. And it's only this screen here that is a client facing. Now, I get it. I get the idea behind this, and I get the simplicity of it. But A, no one's telling us about this managed mapping. I missed it myself. Like, I was like, couldn't figure it out, right? And B, that's an extra step that I don't know if a lot of accountants are going to take. Let's go for it. Who wants to go first on thoughts of managed mappings?
So where's it mapping it to? I mean, does it start from the basis that everything ultimately has to fit into the fixed headings that are on a tax return?
No, which was confusing to me.
That's a bad starting point. So what it needs to do is basically one of two things. Either it only gives you the headings that are in the tax return, Or it starts with the headings in the tax return, allows you to add other headings, but they need to be subheadings of whatever the headings are on the tax return. There is no point creating your own P&L in a different format, because if the business is big enough to need, let's say it's a business, they absolutely need to focus on a particular type of heading and a particular type of place on the profit and loss. So you want full flexibility on the P&L, then you need proper QuickBooks. The whole point of this is simplicity.
Yeah,
this is for a small business that doesn't really have interest in managing their stuff throughout the year. They just want compliance done. They just need to get a tax return. They know how they're doing because they know how much cash they've got in the bank. It tends to be how businesses like this operate if they're that small. They're not running regular reports throughout the year. Again, if they were, they'd be using proper QuickBooks. This is about meeting the requirements for compliance, making sure that everything is done properly for tax return in as simple and as an efficient as a manner as possible. So creating a whole load of sub accounts should probably be discouraged, but I don't mind the flexibility of having them there. But when you create one, it should force you to stick it onto one of the existing tax return headings. Otherwise, suddenly you're creating your own P&L, and then you're doing a separate mapping of, oh, well, this item here belongs to that item there, and then that one goes to here. And you've got a sort of murderboard connection of lines going everywhere. It's just complete nonsense.
Yeah.
Much too complicated.
I mean, there are some ones that I would probably add for a client, like there's no accounting fees here, so let's get that in, or there's no subscriptions, like I've just said, let's get that in. But it seems like a long-winded way of doing it, and I get the whole premise is to make it simple for the client, but then tell us that is, but like give us some indication that I've got to go to this manage mapping button to affect the client. And if I hadn't have been in the client, I would never known. I just assumed, well, I've added as a chart of account. Surely that's done, because in every other world, you add a chart of account, you're done, right? You moved on. What's everyone else's thoughts on it?
I'm just thinking, I have gone one step further and looked at what the taxes section has got, and I know we haven't got to that point yet, but there is categories in there like a tax return. So
yes.
if that subscriptions that you've added, where is it?
I don't think they fixed that bit yet, but originally,
fine, okay.
At
So
some point, yes, you will be able to.
Mapping, but then I thought, well, hang on, it's already got some kind of report.
So at the moment, it's all based on your detailed account. So I've put subscription to Office General Admin expenses.
Fine,
so in theory,
okay.
Then it should get its way to one of these, wherever that goes. Who knows?
Yeah, that needs a little bit of thought, but
and I guess that'll come in a future update, right? That's something that'll come its way. But yeah, at the moment, it's difficult to understand where that's going.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be confusing.
And my biggest fear is accountants are just not going to know about it.
No.
Because without being big-headed, if I didn't spot it, like, well, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't know. I don't know. So that's that. Accountants tools, though, we have a client request feature. So there is the ability to ask a client to send you a bank statement or put through from there. So it needs work. It always has needed work. It's never been perfect. But the fact it's there, I think it's quite nice and will be an opportunity. There's a note section, so you can put notes in for the rest of your team. You know, always check this thing was right or wrong, or whatever it's going to be. Report options. And what I do love the fact is work papers is there. So I'm very, very happy about that. So we can be consistent. Every single client of mine goes through work papers one way or another. Even if they're on a different software, we put it on General Ledger and we move them over to this. So the fact that this is in here will be great for us. We'll be definitely utilizing this section. One frustration though, is if I want to go and find out what this CIS income of 20% is for 4,000, click on it, I just get out a message. And I don't think they're ever going to fix it. Yeah, because they don't, for some reason, they don't give you the reclassification area, and that's where that would have gone to reclassification. Do we need reclassification on this bit? I don't see the harm in having it. I don't get why you wouldn't.
Yeah, it would make a lot of sense. To have bulk reclassification would be great. Absolutely. But maybe it can be done. Maybe it's just done to the bank screen. If they have, well, you said they don't have the batch option. There needs to be the batch. I mean, if to go back to the example, if they posted, a whole load of payments to, I don't know, Facebook, and they've coded them to repairs, not advertising, you want to be able to click them all in one go and move them all to advertising.
So the bulk edit option is on the transaction screen. That's what they want to try and do. And in fairness, on the income one, if I want to see what that 77, it won't work because it's broken. But if I press £7.90 there, oh, and then it does kind of take you to here, and then it kind of goes through from there. So, because that was the nice thing about QuickBooks Self-Employed. If you looked at that tax return area and you queried something, you click on it, it'll just take you to this transaction page and all the transactions that relate to it. So if you wanted to move it, adjust it, you could have done it directly from there. So the accountant section is here. What's everyone's thoughts on it? Good, bad?
Work to be done.
Work to be done, says Simon. Amy?
It's moving in the right direction. It's positive. It is. Just needs a little bit of feedback from us accountants. And I do think a lot of this is easy tweaks. I don't think we're asking for too much because a lot of it's in the other QuickBooks. So they just copy it over, right?
Yeah, but are we being too critical? Should this be fixed before it goes live? Does it matter? Because it's a cloud-based product, so at some point you'd imagine most of these will be fixed, right? Should we have an expectation that it goes out 100% right? What's everyone's thoughts to that?
I don't think it needs to be. I think because it's new, a lot of us aren't going to be using it, so things can be added as we go. Because I haven't put anyone on it. I think I'm going to put my first person on it today. And they haven't got a business bank account yet. So the whole bulk thing doesn't really bother me too much. I just need them to start issuing some invoices, and then I'll link their business bank account when they get it. So I will probably progress at the same speed that QuickBooks is going to progress.
That makes sense.
But if you're going to do like a bulk move and you're going to start the MTD journey early, I say early, probably should be pretty soon. You need this to be right. So have they been advertising it as an MTD? It's a product.
I believe so. I believe that's their big push, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they need to work on that then. Pretty sharpish, I think, because we're all talking about it more with our clients now.
When's the deadline? What is it? April 26th? Well, that's the first. That's when it starts, sorry, isn't it?
That's when it starts. But you kind of
we've basically got a year. It's an extended beta while they fix these things, isn't it?
Yeah. But we've still got a tax return to do between now and then, right? Like,
but people don't need. What I'm saying is, people don't need to have the software.
True.
People can still do their tax returns the same way they've been doing them for the last 20 years, right?
So for the likes of me, Amy, and Charlie, we can kind of sit there and wait for the technology to catch up. But wouldn't someone like yourself, Simon, you'd look at this and go, "There's a lot of work here. You're not gonna. Would you guys put the faith in that they'll get fixed like straight away, sort of thing? Or what?
It's not going to get fixed straight away.
Yeah. And surely that you guys can't take that risk, right?
No, we can't take that risk.
Yeah.
We couldn't put clients on like I said, like an extended beta.
Yeah, exactly.
It needs to be working from day one. And that's why it takes. I think that there's been lots to talk about why it's harder for bigger firms to get certain apps and things like that. That's the reason why. Bigger clients have bigger risks.
Yeah,
and you can't take that risk.
And even if they're not bigger clients for you, they're going to be more. There's going to be more numbers of them, right? So one issue, one error that could cost you an hour worth of time. That's quite significant, right? Like that's a huge problem.
Yeah, if someone posted obviously the numbers are going to be bigger, the cost to the client's bigger. If someone posted all of this wrong, and it costs one of us to go and redo it all for them, that's an expensive thing, right?
Yeah.
And they've been sold that the technology just do it for you.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
So Charlie, you were probably the most excited about this software. What's your thoughts so far?
Not overly excited so far. I mean, it's back to what I was saying earlier. The clients at the moment, well, they do it in two ways at the moment. Historically, they've been sending me spreadsheets. I give them a simple spreadsheet, two pages to the spreadsheet. One is income, one is expenses. I give them various column headings that are relevant to that particular client. And once a year, they send me the spreadsheet. and we can look at that spreadsheet in anything from 15 minutes to an hour and a half at most.
Mm.
And then at most, I mean, usually it's less than that. Typically it's sort of, a half an hour, 40 minutes, and then a call with the client to go through it, to raise questions with the client, discuss a few things with them, and then we do a tax return.
I guess the question there would be, would you be happy doing that on a quarterly basis with them?
No.
Yeah.
Complete
So
waste
you
of
need
time.
software
apart from anything else, we will have reviewed it all, and then we will look at it next quarter. How do I know they haven't gone back and changed something? So I'll be doing it all over again.
I'm saying, sorry. I mean, with your spreadsheet idea, like, that's not sustainable for quarterly, right? It probably works perfectly for annual, but if you're going to try and MTD it, you're going to have some solution.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no. Well, again, with MTD, I'm back at the same thing again. It's like, if they're using this, once MTD comes in, yes, I need to put them on something like this, though I've got some on Coconut at the moment. I wouldn't be reviewing this in detail quarterly. I would be going, okay, they've got some data in there. If they're coded the wrong place, I don't care, because it's not going to affect the tax they pay. HMRC have told me they don't care. I will just hit the button file once a quarter. So I will spend 30 seconds to a minute once a quarter filing it. I'm not reviewing it in any way, shape or form, because there is no requirement to. HMRC don't require it. It's simply showing, yes, we're using some digital software. And then at the year end, that's when I do the proper check that everything is correct.
Yeah. But if they start bringing in quarterly payments, though, then
that's a separate thing.
Add a lot of work for you, right?
That I think is way off. And if they were to do it originally, I suspect they would do it on an account basis, as we have, biannually, whatever the word is, twice a year payments at the moment. You're not making a payment at the moment based on a calculation you've made for half of the year. You're making a payment based on what we filed the previous year. As a payment on account. So if they have payments 4 times a year, I suspect it would start off being on that basis, because otherwise they are genuinely requiring a return to be made 4 times a year.
Yeah, makes sense. James says it needs to have majority of problems ironed out. However, it's a product that will grow and get better. And I think overall, I really like this product. I think it's got its niche. It's going to have some the way that they deal with, say, splitting of income is absolutely brilliant, for example. So if I want to split some income here, it automatically puts it here. So if I put a minus figure in for whatever reason I need to, maybe it's a fee or something, automatically going to grow us up. So there are some excellent bits in here that's just so much better than even what we have in our main product. I think it's a really good piece of software. It's just, I feel like it's been rushed out. And I think that's my frustration, is that we could have got this absolutely nailed from day one. Because the problem you have is people are going to look at this, they're going to take a few clicks and go, this isn't right for me. Getting them to come back to this product is an absolute nightmare. Like you get one chance to impress them, right? They get that one opportunity to give them first impressions. If we give them a poor first impression, it's really difficult for us to win them back. And they're already coming from QuickBooks Self-Employed, which categorically, other than myself, every other accountant hates in the world. So we're already on the back foot, right? Like this needed to be perfect as best we can from an accountant's point of view. Anyone disagree to that?
No, I'm going to use it. I will be using it. I am trying to encourage my clients to get onto this next year in advance of April 26. And I had a plan of actually looking at it quarterly, so that when it comes to the end of the year, I've only got one more quarter to go to finish it off. So with the review bit, it could be a little bit better, but I will still look at it quarterly. So it is still a product I will use. Just need a bit more. Need some grouping. Need some more thought into other areas, and then particularly CIS, which I won't bang on too much about.
But it's there though, and that's a good thing, right? Like,
it is there. It's not great, but it's being thought about.
Yeah.
So.
And we spoke about this last night. I think the frustration is that why implement something like cash flow into here, which is great, like cool little bit or whatever, but forget putting this this wow factor in and get it right. Like get the main core product right.
Yeah.
The majority of people, and you can argue with this with me or not, are using this like as we said before, they're going to use it for MTD, right? They're not using it for any other reason. If they don't have to use this, they would not be using something like this, right?
Agreed.
So why do they care about this screen?
Yeah. It's a nice
Exactly.
to have, and maybe later down, like if 2 years down the line they added it, it might be a nice way to bring more clients in or something. I don't know. There could be like a feature. Oh, they've just released cash flow, blah blah blah. Like, but
as a launch point, it's irrelevant.
Yeah,
because you're going to move. You're basically going from people who don't do anything until January the 29th.
Yeah.
To this, you don't need this. You need to just get them in the door first before you give them all the bells and whistles.
Yeah. Frustrating. Okay, cool. Let's go to our next section though, which is the new.
The irony, well, we're just talking about, isn't cash flow no longer in like big QuickBooks, is it?
I know, right?
That's where you would expect that to be.
Yeah, killed it from there, and yeah, which is a shame, right? Like, yeah. Okay, I'm not going to do the whole but we're just going to go straight into our next topic, which is the new invoice experience. Now, if you want to see the new invoice experience for the very first time and understand exactly what it looks like, then the best place to come is to QuickBooks Sole Trader, because it's here from day one. So if I was to go in and create a new invoice in QuickBooks Sole Trader, it looks like this, which is the brand new experience that we're going to see. I forgot when the dates are coming, but they said that I think it's turned on. Is it in the next couple of weeks that it's in? And then everyone's mandated by end of January, was it, that they're going to be on the new experience? Something along those lines. We'll try and figure out the actual dates and stuff for you later down the line. But in front of me is the new invoice experience. The benefit, or what they're showing us, is it's a new platform. That means that they can add some new extra bits on. There's going to be new options to like record payments and all that sort of stuff coming through. But the big advantage that I think about this is this view here is exactly what your final invoice is going to do. Well, Amy will tell you that there's certain bits that are final and some bits aren't for a bug, but in theory, this view here is what that invoice is going to look like. And the idea is we are, we're editing, we're changing, we're updating the invoice itself, instead of at the moment where we've kind of got that hybrid of we're making changes to a template to then hopefully it's going to translate well on the invoice. So I think this is a positive move. I think this is I think it's going to be easier to train new clients going forward, because literally it's, you want to change that date range, where you click in that date range and you change it. You know what I mean? Like, they are literally playing and molding the invoice itself. So it should make it simpler to understand from that point of view. And I think, the opportunity of new features coming through is always a positive. But what's everyone else's thoughts? Happy or not happy with this new update?
I'm not sure. I agree. I mean, first of all, this isn't what you've got at the top of the screen email view and PDF view. So, for example, product service doesn't appear on the invoice the client gets, right? Unless
I see what you mean, that table. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So this isn't. So all they've done. Well, in this case, it does, because they've set it to do that. But normally, I don't have that. The product service is simply an internal code for for analysis.
Well, that's for you to change, though, isn't it? If you want to go and manage it and change it, customization here,
Oh, they put that there now. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
But if you go back to the first screen, I mean, presumably we've still got the facility where you have, for example, a ship to field or a PO number field or some all those things that appear on this screen. If you enter data in there, it will appear on the PDF invoice. If you don't enter data on the screen, even the title doesn't appear on the PDF invoice. I hope that remains, because that's quite nice that you don't.
I think you just turn it off, right? I think that's the idea.
No, because that would be if you don't use POs ever, fine. But I've got clients where some of their customers have POs and some of them don't. The majority don't. So therefore, the PO field doesn't appear on any invoices they raise to those customers that don't need POs. But the customers that do need POs, the PO box appears with whatever the PO number is. Because by adding an extra field with a blank data in it every time, it starts to encourage, you get either my clients are saying to me, oh, do I need a PO number because it's appearing on the invoice? Or their customers are coming back saying, oh yeah, we'd like to give you a PO number. And then suddenly we've added an extra step into the workflow that my client's customer actually didn't really care about, but because they've seen it on the invoice, they're going, oh great, we'd like to give you a PO number as well. So I created more work for me and my clients simply by showing a field that we didn't need to display at all.
Yeah, so in that situation, you turn it off, right? And then it's not there.
But what have they done with the fields?
So just to finish on this, I don't want to turn it. They're not going to remember to turn it off. The whole point at the moment is
you turn it off forever for them. That's what I'm saying.
No, because some of their customers need POs. That's the point. It's a dynamic field. If a customer says to them, here's our PO number, and you have to put it or we won't pay it, you type a PO, it then appears on the invoice. If you don't type a PO number in there, then it doesn't appear on the invoice at all.
That's how it's working now.
That's what happens. That's what happens.
If it's still working, then that's fine.
Yeah.
So essentially what I'm saying is this is actually not completely different from what we've got at the moment. It's on a new platform, which may be good, and they stuck a logo at the top of the screen. But essentially, it's not really any different from what we have right now. I mean, the note to a memo on statement, whatever it's called, that doesn't appear on it. Things like that, for example. So I don't see it's particularly different from what we have now.
I think it's because you don't have to go to that style area now. You know how if you want to make changes, you have to go to that separate area, make all the changes there. And, it was a bit of a confusing workflow for clients, right? They had to know that there was this area in the first place they had to go to. How did, some of them was just sending invoices out without even checking, right? And they were just these horrible default ones that were going out. I think this whole idea is because it's all on the same page and you're updating it directly here. That should prevent, hopefully, fingers crossed, should prevent them from making mistakes and sending things out that are incorrect. That's how I see it. Anyone else?
What have they done with the? Obviously, you can have all these fields. I'm just not doing what Charlie said, but you had the ability to then say, actually, that's an internal field on the old ones. I don't want to show this on my invoice. So, you've got tracking number, for instance. Where's that gone? I want that internally. I don't want to turn it off. I just want to use it for my internal reporting. Client doesn't need to see it. But if I turn that off, then it's gone.
Yeah.
It's either going to appear on the invoice or it's not going to appear, not just hide it from the PDF view.
That's a very good point. And maybe that's will appear on the main version because we're still only on Sole Trader here. So
I'm in the main one on the US version at the moment.
Oh, and it's still not giving you that option.
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, maybe they will take that. And like you said, that would actually cause an issue, right? Like internally trying to.
You've got some that might have booking references and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or, they've got nothing to do with the customers. They're all internal references at the end of the day.
Normally, it's when you create that custom field, though, you get to say if it's internal or not, though, don't you? So under settings
load it up now.
And advance, you get to change it there, don't you?
So you do have the option to say print on form or not.
Yeah.
I'm going to make one up while we do it, and I'll come back to you.
Cool. Amy, what do you think? Other than we'll talk about your CIS issue in a minute, but
I'm going to be known for CIS complaints. And just going back to Simon's bit, in that edit default settings at the top underneath the invoice, is it in there?
Just open that up.
Oh no, it's just not. Just takes you there. That just takes you there. Okay.
Yeah. If I was in a full version of QuickBooks, if I was in a full version of QuickBooks, there's definitely the option to do that, and that's what Simon's looking at now. But yeah, I think from there. But
I think it's progression. I like it. I like that we've got the email view and the PDF view.
Yep.
So if there is something, you haven't got to click a button at the bottom and then wait for it to load up. You can actually go back. It's quicker if you want to change the format of things.
Yeah.
It was coming. I tested it with CIS. I tested it with the normal invoice. It was fine. CIS doesn't feed through on Sole Trade. You have the subtotal for the CIS, invoice total before the CIS is deducted. That is the only thing that comes through on the PDF. So on yours, you don't have it. And so although it's showing on the screen, what the customer will get a 1,600 on their email view to pay. Yeah. And then 2,000 on the invoice. So there is a blip there that will be communicated back. But at least they have CIS and they haven't forgot about it. So it's progress. But in general, across all the QuickBooks, I do like this template better. And being able to customize while you're in there will please my clients as well. A lot of my clients didn't like the options we had before.
And it was complicated for them, right? They had to go into that.
Where do I go to change the format of my invoice? Well, you've got to go to standard, and you've got to it's a lot easier for them to understand.
If you change the customization here, is this changing it for all invoices? Is this static, or is it just changing it for this invoice?
In this one, it seems to be changing it for all. You don't seem to have different settings, like different styles like we used to, which might be.
So you do.
Oh, you do. Oh.
Yeah. And I think we've broken it. So you still have your custom fields, and you say whether you want to print them on the form, but they don't appear on this new layout.
Oh, okay.
And then you go to when you're in there, if you go to customization on the right.
They're in customized, aren't they?
Sorry.
Yeah.
So you haven't, under design, sorry. So yeah, your custom fields don't seem to appear in there on the version I'm on. But if you go to design, which is next further down. Yeah, see, so you've just got that on full fat QuickBooks, which is the US version. You have the old screen appear with the different formats.
Oh, it comes back as that, does it? All right, okay.
And even then, the custom fields don't appear on there. So something's not quite hooked up yet.
Yep. But they are giving us the option to go between the two versions for the next
switch between the two.
X amount of time, isn't it? Yeah.
I wonder if I switch it back to the old version, will my custom fields appear?
While you're doing that, just to point out, CIS being in Sole Trader works. It's good. It's there. Yeah, so we're happy that that's there. And I think I was shocked that it was there. I think they've definitely taken our feedback on board with that one, and that's good to see. But yeah, for the clients that are going to be using this software, I think CIS is pretty critical for vast majority of them. Go on then, Simon. Is it working?
I can't switch back now.
All right, okay.
Once you've committed, that's it.
Breaking it.
Once you're in.
Yeah, brilliant.
Interesting. Any more thoughts on QuickBooks Sole Trader before we move on to our final topic of the show and the new invoice?
Is Sole Trader yet available within the general?
Yeah. You can't buy QuickBooks Self-Employed now. You can only buy Sole Trader. And I have done an upgrade from Sole Trader to Simple Start. Works absolutely flawlessly, as you'd expect. We can take on the fees and all that sort of stuff. All that's what we used to with normal QuickBooks. So that bit's all working. The one other bit that they said is going to come soon is the rules bit is on a trying to get there as soon as possible. So we're looking forward to playing around with that, see how that works. And also hopefully they're going to have the ability for you to connect your accounts production software to this, because at the moment no apps at all can connect to QuickBooks Sole Trader, which I get for most part. Like, for example, for Apron and stuff will probably just cause issues with it if it was being connected, so I get that bit. But I really wish like the eBay connector and stuff like that was there, because those sort of clients, they're so tiny that just connecting their eBay to it would actually really help them, right? But at the moment, that's not.
I get why there's no receipt capture. Like,
100%.
If you're going to use Dext, you've probably got Dext Solo and things like that.
They've got their own versions now, haven't they?
Yeah.
And that would probably cause you massive reconciliation issues if that software like that just starts adding things, right? So
exactly.
Potentially that's why it's there.
Just one question.
Go for it.
Does Solopreneur not exist anymore?
Solopreneur is the US version.
Oh, okay. Because when I created a license this morning, it came up.
Solopreneur.
Solopreneur.
Ooh, they've not changed that one.
So I was like, what are we calling this?
Do I like Solopreneur over Sole Trader? Do I not?
The answer is no, Aaron.
Well, it's popping up. So it just popped up when I added a client. So I bought a license. At the last page said Solopreneur. I was like, okay, what am I buying?
One of the other big
filter.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, can you filter to find just because I can't even find my Sole Trader one that I set up in beta. Can you filter to just find the
Sole Trader accountant? Yeah.
Sorry.
So the beta one that you created as a beta was probably client only access and not as an accountant. Have you added yourself as an accountant? So it's super simple, but there's the add an accountant option here. and you get add that. Actually, I best not go there because I'll give away Amy's email address. Because I had to do as an accountant the other day.
It's okay. It's public anyway. Don't worry.
Okay. But yeah, add account at the top there. Then you can add them as you kind of normally do.
Oh, I've got to remember then what license I logged in to create the beta. Okay, so long since I looked at it.
But you should have a filter option to be able to filter between them and go from there. And the final bit, just to let everyone know, is the the app is now the exact same app as your normal QuickBooks app, which we love. Not having to download 2 different apps is a thing of the past now. So that QuickBooks self-employed app will one day be taken away for good, taken out to the back and shot, no doubt. But again, I actually quite liked it. But yeah, I also like Zero Go. So there's obviously something wrong with me. Okay, final bit then for today before we close up is QuickBooks Connect is been announced, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm excited. Any of you got the details that you can share for us all?
March. 4th of March.
That's it.
Yeah.
What?
It's the 4th of March into back of doc. That is literally all the information. That is it.
Yeah, that's all there is. But we are going to, as QuickBooks Labs, fight for an opportunity to be there as a podcast in some form or another. So keep an eye out for that one. We will definitely have plenty of QuickBooks not top trump cards available. So that'll all be there for your collecting pleasure. But yeah, I mean, quick thoughts on what they need to bring to this one. I imagine this is the one where they've got to convince us all that Intuit Assist is going to be absolutely amazing. So they're going to have to show us that at this event. We've got to see it. Hopefully we get to play around with it. Is that maybe too much to ask for? And I imagine they're going to want to explain what this whole enterprise Intuit Enterprise Suite is going to be all about.
I think there might be a lot on that. I think there might be a lot of focus on Enterprise Suite, but then we need more stuff in there. We were talking earlier about more stuff being in advanced first. I think that needs a lot of work. So maybe it might be more stuff on advanced and less on Enterprise Suite.
But there's nothing to talk about though, is there? Because they're not going to talk about...
There needs to be more stuff in advanced to talk about advanced.
Yes. Yeah.
Before we jump to Enterprise.
And are we officially calling it QuickBooks Connect 2025 or is it Intuit Connect 2025?
It's just called Get Connected by QuickBooks.
Okay, so it's still QuickBooks. Okay.
Get Connected London 25. That's according to that's what it says. So.
And we were at the Tobacco Dock in 2018, was it? 17, 18? Those two?
Yeah, there's been lots of events there, haven't there?
There was a Sage one there not long ago as well.
Sage one, Zero ones have been there. Accountancy Excellence Awards have been there.
Have they really? I did not know that bit.
Yeah. Oh. It's freezing. No. If it's cold, it's freezing. Well, if it's hot, it's very hot.
Is it as cold as the Printworks? Probably not.
I don't think it's. I don't. No, because that's a big warehouse, isn't it?
That was horribly, but that was Beast of the East as well, wasn't it?
That's Beast of the East. Yeah. Who knows the weather? It might be 40 degrees.
And isn't there a little lake or not lake, river, canal, something in front? It must be a canal in front. So you can always have a little cool off there if it is too warm. So it's all good. But it's good to be back though, right? Like we've had a fallow year, whatever the phrase is. Glasgow's having a fallow year next year, aren't they? And QuickBooks had one this year for events, really. We had that one event at the beginning, which was supposed to be the start of the roadshow, but never happened. So, MailChimp, do you reckon they'll be involved?
I think they need, if it's part, I think that's where it falls into that enterprise piece. All those products coming together, and if they're calling it a suite, it's a suite of all their products, right?
Yeah.
So I expect there to be more. They've not done much with it in the UK, I don't think. Or really, even from accountants' point of view, told us much about it. It's there, but would any of us go to your customers and go, "Oh yeah, by the way, that's in there," because we don't know enough about it.
No, not at this point. They'll have a stand, won't they? There'll be a stand.
They didn't even have a proper stand at the last roadshow, did they?
Well, they had six or seven. Vendors last time?
No, the roadshow they didn't. I'm thinking back to 2023. They had a selfie stand. Just because I went there. That's why.
Oh, 2023. Oh, it was. Yes, at the yes, it was.
When they
Yeah,
announced
I
practice
remember that.
management.
Yeah. So that was the thing, that event. They had the best announcements you could possibly ask for.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure I could say the same about the actual products that came out because of the announcement, right? Yeah, the expectation didn't meet reality at that one, so unfortunately.
There's still time.
Is there? Sure.
There's still time for something amazing.
No, they're going to have to be a big announcement, I think, with the Enterprise Suite, with Intuit Assist. I'm sure if there's anything more that we're allowed to talk about, we will talk about as well when we can. So next month, then, we have our opportunity to grade this year's QuickBooks. We're going to be doing a grading for them, so definitely stick around for that one. Anyone want to talk about anything else before we close? Are there any bits that I've missed? Me and Simon had a quick look at the new stuff being announced. There wasn't really that much there for us, was there? It seems like it's quiet at the moment.
Nothing exciting, was there? A lot of it is just, not in product, is it? It's fluffy bits around the outside.
Exactly right. So so that's it. Anything from anyone else before we close out? We're all good?
I think we're good.
Excellent. And thank you everyone for commenting and liking and talking throughout the day. It's kept us honest. That's what we like to see. Don't forget, we'll be live next month around the same time, and we'll be doing our tier list for 2024. So it's always a debate. I wonder if we can get Johan out of the closet for that one. We'll have a look and see if we can dust him off and bring him over for that one. It's always a controversial one. Okay, so Simon, where can people find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn. And that is my only socials. There you go.
There we are.
Nice.
Wow.
Charlie, where can people find you? What do you want to plug?
QBOA user group on Facebook. Come and join us on there. It's a great little.
It's so good. He's muted.
QBOA user group on Facebook.
Agreed, I think. Okay. Hashtag Amy, go on. Where can people find you?
On LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and I'm also on a little video series called Being Counter to Boss with the ACCA with lovely James, who commented earlier.
There he is. So is it not a podcast then? You're not calling it a podcast?
It's a video series. We probably will go back to podcasting next year.
So is it a podcast or is it not? That's what I'm confused about.
I don't think it is a podcast. You might correct me. I don't think it is. I think it's just a video series on YouTube this time.
You get to choose.
No. It was a podcast. Being Counter to Boss.
James, is it a podcast or not? Before we close out.
It was. I'll comment later on LinkedIn.
And great to see you, Dave. Thank you for turning up for this one. Right. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Next month, should I say, will be a cracker because we're going to go and look at this year. And there's been some interesting updates this year. And I think there's been some interesting non-updates as well, which we'll include on the tier list. So thanks, everybody. Hope everybody has a good month. And we will see you all bright and early next month for another exciting episode of QuickBooks Labs. Cheers all.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.